YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, today we're going to talk about the 2023 Bass EQ Qualifiers. There's 9 of them in total, and honestly, these guys blew it out of the water. You know, probably one of the most consistent years I've ever seen by a top 9 ever, and easily probably one of the hardest years I've ever seen to actually qualify for the Bassmaster Elite Series. You know, going into this season, literally before the first tournament even happened, Ish Monroe and I were on the phone, and we were talking about what it was going to take this year to make it. And it's so crazy because I swear we blinked and the season was over. But we were sitting there talking, and we were talking about how, you know, this particular tournament was going to be a spawn tournament, and that tournament was going to be a pre-spawn tournament. You know how you always kind of, you're planning ahead. You're trying to game plan for the season. And one thing I told him without a doubt, and I knew it then, and it was honestly proven this year, was the young guys that, in some cases, people might not have ever even heard of, would come out of the woodwork, and they were going to be electronics beast, you know, using forward-facing sonar, and they were going to absolutely dominate this year. And that's exactly what we saw happen. You know, when it comes to consistency, some of these guys were just, I don't know how they were so consistent, personally. You know, I was at almost every one of these events. I was at 8 of the 9. And there was a few of them that I knew, without a doubt, when I showed up, I was like, this is going to be a forward-facing sonar event. And there were some of them that honestly kind of surprised me. But let's talk about the guys. Let's first give a huge shout-out to all of these 9 guys. JT Tompkins, I'm not surprised that he did so well. You know, he's been knocking on the door the last couple of years. Kind of missed it by like 1 or 2 points a couple of times. Really talented guy. I've known him for a long time, and he and his dad, you know, I used to fish the FLW tour against his dad, so he's kind of grown up into it. Like I said, not surprised. John Garrett has been around for a while. College angler, extremely seasoned. Actually, out of the whole entire group, I would say he is the most seasoned angler on the entire list. He's the one guy that I feel like day in, day out is going to figure out how to catch them on most bodies of water. I think the Elite Series is going to fit him perfectly. He is definitely an Elite Series style angler. You know, he really adapts well. He adapts fast. Limited practice is not a big deal for that guy. He is going to figure out how to catch them day in and day out. Going into third was Trey McKinney. Trey's just kind of been on a roll. It's kind of unbelievable how good the guy is at such a young age. He is one of those guys, though, that when he got into bass fishing, he grew up knowing forward-facing sonar as a really big player. And as you can tell, this year, you know, next season for the Bassmaster Elite Series, forward-facing sonar is not banned. There's no ban on screens. There's no ban on forward-facing sonar. So I look that Trey McKinney is probably going to have a really big year. Not to say that he wouldn't if it was taken away, but I really think it would hurt him significantly if it was. The guy's, but like I said, though, the guy's ultra talented. Actually, my uncle fished with him, I want to say it was at Wheeler, and he told me just how great the fisherman was and how just much he paid attention to all of his surroundings, and it was just really fun to watch him. So, like I said, I'm not surprised Trey's there. Been on an absolute roll the last couple of years. Robert Gee, I don't know much about Robert Gee. Once again, really, really good with the forward-facing sonar. Tyler Williams, goes without saying. I don't even know if I've ever actually had a conversation with Tyler. And it's no offense to him or anybody. It's just the fact that, you know, when you're fishing against 225 guys, you don't get to talk to everybody. And I'm not there for social hour either. I know Matt Pangrak and him have talked quite a few times, and Matt always tells me that how good that Tyler is, and obviously he proved it this year, making the elites. Made kind of a comeback going in that last event. Squeezed himself into the top 10 in points. The one other guy that has been very seasoned that's come into here that I'm really not surprised that made it was Wesley Gore. Wesley has been fishing the last few years. I've known Wesley for a while now. He's an unbelievable fisherman. He is one of those guys, though, that he's adapted a little bit with the forward-facing sonar stuff, but he is a true just fisherman. He's a really good power fisherman, shallow water guy. He knows how to do it all. I'm not shocked. He grew up through the ABT, which is like the Alabama Bass Trail. Super talented angler. With him and John Garrett, I feel like are probably two of the more seasoned guys that just can go do everything. You know, they're good and deep, they're good shallow, they're good with their electronics. They've kind of adapted well across the board. Wesley is definitely going to be one to watch next year on the Elite Series. Logan Parks is another one, college angler, fairly young guy. I'm not surprised that he made it. Super talented forward-facing sonar. Then you got Ben Milliken. Ben Milliken, YouTuber. Once again, I said it at the very beginning of the season, out of all the YouTubers out there, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, obviously. Out of all the YouTubers out there that weren't tournament guys or pro anglers or whatever, I felt like he had the best shot that there was. Insanely talented. Understands fishing. He understands how to catch big ones. And that's a big deal. I mean, when you get out there on tour, you know, it's real easy to get caught up in just catching fish, and he's really one of those guys that's going to go chase big ones a lot. And he's that guy that he might only catch 12 pounds on day one, but might bust a dirty 30 on day two. He's just as likely to do that. So, once again, huge shout out to him. Kyle Patrick, I think he won at Lake of the Ozarks. I know he won at Lake of the Ozarks. Once again, really good forward-facing sonar. Got to watch him catch him on a jig. Really a talented angler. And then obviously Kenta was a double qualifier. That's why they actually went down to 10th place. Kenta, that dude's a machine. I'm not surprised about Kenta. He fishes everything. He's the only Elite Series angler to fish all 9 of the Bassmaster Opens this season. Super talented. Loves fishing. Travels around all the time, and that's all he does. That is why you're seeing so much success from Kenta, is time on the water. But one thing I want to talk about is just how stacked this Opens field was this year. I want to say I ended up finishing like 30-something points, 34, 36, but I didn't even go to the last event. Not to say I'd even caught a bass or moved up or moved down or anything like that, but I felt like 36 without even going to an event was pretty darn good for this season. But it just goes to show you how tight the points were and how close some guys were. I mean, finishing in 11th place was none other than Bobby Lane. And if I would have made a bet, there was so much money I would have put on the fact that Bobby Lane finishes in the top 10 at that last event and qualifies for the Elite Series. He was one place out, and I'm honestly baffled that he didn't. And it's no offense to him. I mean, golly, I finished 117th on my home lake on Toledo Bend, so I know exactly what it feels like. But, I mean, he still didn't even have a bad tournament. You know, I think he finished in the 40s, but he had to have a top 10 to make it. But he just didn't catch him. I mean, and that's just how it goes. But you're talking probably, like I said, probably the most stacked field. I'm going to actually pull up the points real quick, and we're going to talk about just how good this season was. I mean, like, I have never seen an open field this stacked before. You know, you got Bobby Lane in 11th. You got Brett Cannon 13th, and he was flirting around the top 10 all year long. Jamie Bruce actually fell out of the top 10 and finished 15th. You got Sam George, Joey Nania, Trevor McKinney, which had a great year, Shane Campbell, Dale Hightower, a former Elite Series guy, Blake Smith, Matt Henry, finished 27th, and he was in the top 10 7 of the 9 events, I want to say. Casey Scanlon, Bohannon, Chad Warren, Clark Ream. You got Ish Monroe finishing 41st, and he ended up having a good last event. Miles Berghoff. I mean, Jason Lambert, Brian Post, Panger. I mean, the list goes on and on how stacked this particular Opens field was this season. Will we see it that way again? No. I'm making a bet right now. I think we had 170, either 72 or 77. I can't remember the exact number. I want to say it was 77. 177 anglers sign up for all 9 events this year. Now, I'm assuming that by the end of the season, just like me, or a few guys that just knew they were out of it, just didn't go to Florida. I bet that we see less than 100, probably less than 130 sign up for all 9 this year, would be what I would guess. It's a grind, guys. I would love to sugarcoat it and say it's easy and the most fun thing ever. It's really a lot of fun if you're doing good. I mean, if you're one of the guys at the top, like a JT Tompkins that I think finished in the top 25 like 7 times, it's the most fun tournament series of all time. But when you're going into these grinder events, it's just not as easy as it looks sometimes. So I definitely think that this season is you're going to see a downward tick on the overall, but you're still going to get full fields. Everybody's going to fish them. You still got the Bassmaster Classic burst. The one thing we haven't seen yet is the rules for next year. I've heard some grumblings and some rumors about what's going on. I think we're going to see the rules drop this week, so make sure y'all pay attention. I'm going to drop a video as soon as it comes out. I kind of know a few things that are going to happen. There's definitely going to be a few changes. So we're going to talk about it. We're even going to get the tournament director, Hank Weldon, on for a little roundtable discussion with me, Ish, Castledine, and Panger. Should be awesome. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure y'all do so. That is the breakdown of the top 10 in points this year. Probably one of the youngest, most talented group that I've seen in quite some time. But what do y'all think? Do you think it's the most talented? Comment below and tell me what you think. Appreciate y'all watching today, and I'll see you on the next one.